Hey guys, I hope you're all well. So welcome to the first video, of my new series. It's called Danilo Teaches, and it's basically where I'm gonna teach you teach slash explain, slash discuss sort of topics that I'm either interested in or that I've studied at A level GCSE, or that I've studied myself, or that I might study at university, but I'm not sure. So I'm gonna start with. By the way, sorry that my closet is a mess. This is my year 12. You can't see it, but because it's in this dark bag. But this is my year 12, a year 11 prom suit. But my closet's the hanger's broke, so I have to hang it here and there. But so for AQ, so this is going to be the first video. So I'm gonna kind of experiment to see if I should go quickly through the topic or if I should expand more. This won't be all of the information. It's going to be a lot of information that I've gotten through the textbook, or that I've made into flashcards, or that some of it I've researched online over the past few days. I've made notes of things to say. But so if you're doing AQA Spanish, this will help. And by the way, this isn't in Spanish, so then those who don't speak Spanish can understand it. If you do AQA Spanish, if you want a refresher, this will help. If you don't really know the topic that well, this will help. But it won't be what I like about AQA Spanish is that you don't need to know the topic in depth. You just need to know a bit about it, so then you can discuss in the speaking exam. So then this will help you because you'll have ideas of things to talk about, and you have facts and statistics, etc. But if you don't do AQA Spanish, or you're just interested in Spanish culture, or just what this topic is going to be, this should be really interesting. So I'm gonna go through it, and yeah. So the first topic, because there are 12 topics in AQA Spanish and some other things, but the 12 main topics. The first one that you study in year 12 is traditional and modern values. So this is made up of 3 parts. All of the topics are made up of 3 parts. So the 3 parts of this are changes of the family, attitudes towards divorce and marriage, and the influence of the Catholic Church. So, but also before I go into this, I quickly need to establish someone who I'm going to mention a lot. He is called Franco, and if you don't know him already, he was a dictator. He was the dictator of Spain from 1939 to 75 when he died. And you see a recurring pattern of things just before he became ruler, things being permitted and then being abolished when he became ruler, and then being re-established very, not right after, but very shortly after he died. So you see that pattern. But yeah, let's get into it. So families have changed a lot, and not just in Spain. By the way, this whole video is going to be about Spain, not other Hispanic, not other Spanish-speaking places, but other videos will be. But families have changed all around the world. For example, in Spain now, what's becoming more common is that children are not being looked after by babysitters, but their grandparents, because it's more cheap. And the reason that they're being looked after by their grandparents more is because now more women are working, because 50 years ago, even 50 years ago, it wasn't allowed. There weren't many women working, not just in Spain, but pretty much the whole world. And anyway, families have changed a lot. It's not the typical mum, dad, and 1, 2, 3, however many children. It's obviously not like that. There's that, obviously, I know if I had if I was going to have a family, my family wouldn't be like that, because I'm gay, so I wouldn't have a wife. There are now, as I've said, so now there are now, as well as the typical traditional family role, there's now families with homosexual parents, so parents of the same sex. There are now separated families, and there are now also reunited families, so step parents, step siblings, and the role of family have changed a lot, and so has the role of women. During the 40s to 1960s, but pretty much until the end of Franco's regime in 1975, women lived in a really sexist society. Not just in Spain, but pretty much the whole world. But in Spain, it was a very sexist society. They couldn't work, travel, or have property without their husband's permission, and they were considered inferior to men in everything, including intellectually. And single women were encouraged to teach younger women how to be good Christians and how to be good wives. And in actual fact, in 1953, single women who were not married received the guide of the good wife, and this was basically rules that they had to follow, and this ranged from chores to their sexual relations. And this was a big step back, because in the Spanish Second Republic, which was before Franco, before the Civil War, and before Franco became dictator, women had received the right to vote and the right to work in public places in 1931. But then in 1939, after the Civil War, they lost it, and those laws were repealed. So it was a big step back, and you'll see this a common theme, as I've said. And now the main role of women, the woman's main role was to look after and protect their husband and to satisfy their husband, and also to create children, and in order to raise the population, because I read somewhere that sacrifices needed to be made, because after the Civil War, they wanted to raise the population. However, after Franco died, this changed, and by many, Franco's death was a celebration, and was considered a celebration by many. And so the role of women has changed a lot, especially in the past 100 years. But I'm going to talk about that more about women's rights in another video. Spain also has a low maternity rate, but it compensates by the fact that it has a very high adoption rate, which is mainly done by couples, but increasingly more single parents have been adopting, and also gay parents, which is positive. But another change that has changed in the family, this isn't so much of a change, but this is so much something which is more unique in Spain, is that the average age to leave the home in Spain is 28.9 years old. And according to some surveys from a few years ago, a quarter of 30 to 34-year-olds still live with their parents. And this is due to many things. This is due to the job market difficulties, and the difficulties of getting a home, but it's also due to the securities that families have, and the mental health and the security that they have, and thus for many people, leaving is much harder. And it is also due to the lack of government support in Spain. And this high age of leaving the house, because it's almost 29 years old, the average age to leave the house. This affects not just the whole Spanish family, but the whole Spanish society, because for one, if you leave, it creates assuming responsibilities of the children, actually, if you're 29, you're not a child, of the it makes assuming responsibilities much harder, because you've lived with because often you've lived with your parents for that long, so it makes assuming responsibilities much harder. And this also means that typically people they move in, they get partners and they have children much later, and the average children, the average, I forgot the word, but the average amount of children that women have, that people have in Spain, is a medium of 1.32, which is one of the lowest in Europe. And as I've said, the later they leave, the later they form a families, and it is much difficult to assume responsibilities. So that is the end of part one. Part two is marriage and divorce. So divorce was again same with women's rights. Divorce was legal in the Second Republic. It was made legal in the Second Republic, but then again between 1938 to 45, Franco overturned these laws, and divorce was made illegal. Interestingly enough, all the divorces had taken place between when it was legal, before Franco overturned these laws. Everyone who had divorced were automatically remarried, which is quite really strange if you think about it. It's like, imagine if you were divorced and then all of a sudden you just found out that you are remarried to your ex-partner that you may not have spoken to in like 5 years. Like, that is very strange. This is partially to the fact that the Catholic Church strongly opposed divorces, but divorces were legalized 45 years later in 1981, so 6 years after Franco's death. But they were organized in a way that they were meant to be difficult. This in order to appease the church. So they were legal, but they were meant to get they were difficult to obtain. And the first person to get a divorce got one the same year. And I know a lot of people applied for divorce in the first year. But in 2005, they introduced Divorce Express, which is basically, I tried to do research in this. I didn't understand 100% because this is more like law kind of stuff, but it's basically, it's easier to get a divorce, and I think it's less time. And this was proposed in 2005. And this was very opposed by the churches. In Spain, there are two types of divorces, which I think is pretty much the same everywhere, but I'm not too sure. Basically, one is like one-sided, so if only one party or if one person of the couple wants to get a divorce and the other doesn't, and the other one is if both want to get a divorce. And I assume if both want to get a divorce, it's much easier to have a divorce, because I think you don't need to cite your reasons, but I'm not too sure, don't quote me on that. Another thing about marriage which has changed is that gay marriage has been legal since 2005, and so has actually adoption. It's been legal since 2005. Homosexual adoption, like homosexuals being allowed to adopt, since 2005, and that is very strange that the law about adoption and gay marriage were approved in the same year. But it was this was like a historic year for Spain. Woo! Because they approved two very, very like important rules for LGBT people in the same year. I'm going to talk about LGBT in another video because I did my my whole project on it. But so quick overview about homosexuality in Spain. Homosexuality was, over the past 220 years, it kept kind of going back and forth from being illegal to illegal. It was basically it was legalized in 1932, but again, same with divorce and women's rights. Franco repealed these laws, and homosexuality was made illegal again, and over 5,000 people were arrested for homosexuality, and some were even sent to concentration camps. However, it was legalized in 1979, and now some sources state that Spain is one of the most accepting countries of gay people. Which, so as soon as it's safe, I really want to visit Spain, because it's kind of been a dream to go gay clubbing there. But anyway, that's irrelevant. and so gay marriage now is it has the same rights as a heterosexual marriage. Is that the correct term? I don't know. Um, and it has it has the same rights. Actually, when it was introduced in July 2005, there were 1,400 marriages in the same year, and and it has quite a big support for gay marriage. Apparently, more than 80% of young people support gay marriage, which is really really good. If it should be 100%, but I'm not going to get into that discussion today. Another thing about marriage is that foreigners can marry in Spain, and but one change is that now that the amount of marriages with religious ceremonies are decreasing. Actually in 2012, only a third of marriages were celebrated with a marriage ceremony, and this leads nicely on to the next and final topic, which is the influence of the Catholic Church. Catholicism is no longer the official religion of Spain as it used to be during the Franco era. However, about 71% of Spaniards in Spain identify as being Catholic, and especially in rural Spain, and thus the majority of people identify as being Catholic. Not all, but the majority. However, this is decreasing among the younger generation, and over the past 18 years, so this study was about 5 years ago, so over the past 23 years, there has been a fall of about 30% of those aged 18 to 24 who identify as being Catholic. And this is due to a number of reasons. Many young people feel that the church are not fans of science, and that they are not fans of homosexuality. And many young people have a smaller understanding, I don't know if small is the right word, less deeper understanding and connection with the faith. And now a more relaxed religious practice is now taking its place. And that is it, guys. I hope you have enjoyed this video. And I hope this has been useful. I hope it hasn't been boring. I hope it's been interesting and useful. I've never done this before properly, so I hope this was I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, keep an eye out for next week or maybe the week after. Keep an eye out for future videos with the rest of the Spanish spec and the rest and just other topics. And hopefully they'll be, I don't know if they'll be shorter, if they'll be longer, but hopefully they'll be better, or they'll be as good if this one was really good, or they'll be better anyway. But yeah, I hope you guys all have a lovely week,